And now I have the honor to welcome, please come to the stage, Sarah Letourneau, Sabina Covarrubias, Jakob Gruhl, and Paul Hauptmeier. I can, yeah, the golden middle. So I will do it like that I will introduce every one of them to you to also show this cool, broad variety of approaches, and then I'll hand around some questions, and yeah, hopefully they will get into a dialogue, and of course I also invite you to join it, and if you have questions or comments, go ahead. So, Sarah, to my left, is a multidisciplinary artist from Canada who works in the fields of visual arts, music, performance, video, and theater. Her practice is characterized by her frequent collaborations with other artists. One other artist is here tonight, Chantal Boulian, welcome, bienvenue. The performative aspect is central to your work. Through the moving body, you explore the resonances of sound, gesture, and material. Your performances transform spaces into immersive environments in which symbols and mythologies open up new ways of perception. Since 2006, you have shown more than 100 works in museums, galleries, theaters, artist houses, and festivals in Canada, the US, Europe, and Asia. And I will do I don't know the English word for it, Werbeblock. Advertised drum, does it exist? I don't think so, but yeah. I will do some advertisement because Sarah will show the performance What Still Whispers tomorrow at 8 p.m. It's a 50-minute immersive sound performance and installation by her, by you, and Chantal. And both of them will lead a workshop called Body Matter Sound on Saturday from 3 to 6 p.m. In this workshop, they invite participants to explore the physical and sensory relationships between body, matter, and sound. Now, Sabina, to my right, welcome. You are a composer, multimedia artist, and software developer. Your work explores the intersection of music and visual representation. You are the founder of Synesthetic Devices, a series of visual music instruments for Ableton Live. I will ask you about that later. You create real-time generated audiovisual performances using modular synthesizers, voice processors, and generative video engines. And we will witness that right after the panel discussion. Your artistic spectrum ranges from visual music to electroacoustic and experimental electronic music to musique mixte and symphonic composition. Your work has been presented in institutions and at festivals worldwide. Sabina earned her doctorate at Université Paris 8, taught there and at the Sorbonne. You worked at IRCAM, Institut de Recherche et Coordination Acoustique Musique, where you developed AI-based tools for musical visualization. And as I already said, we will get to know that right after the panel discussion. Then, Paul, to the right, is a composer and multimedia artist based here in Leipzig. You studied composition in Weimar and San Diego. Since 2009, you are working as part of the artist duo Hauptmeier-Recker in the fields of composition, sound, and multimedia art. Paul is a founding member of ZIMT, and here he conducts research in the field of spatial audio technology and augmented reality in sound and multimedia art. Paul organizes workshops, panel discussions, concerts, and exhibitions around these topics. Your works have been presented at festivals and institutions such as the biennials in Sharjah, Istanbul, and Venice, at the Festspielhaus Hellerau in Dresden, 16 Dots in Naus, Ibiza, and EMAF, European Media Art Festival. You will present String Theory 2 on Saturday at 8 p.m. together with Clara Sjölin, a dancer and choreographer based here in Leipzig. It's a piece for one dancer, 3D sound, lasers, position tracking, motion capture, capacitive, touch sensors, metal strings, and max MSP. A lot of elements involved. And to my left, it's Jakob. He's a museologist, musician, and Sorbian artist. He is co-developer of the software tools Sonic Moves and Maze Tools, which combine multisensory approaches with artistic and musical forms of expression, particularly through motion tracking. As an artist, as a rapper, he works under the name J-Cube, in the genres of ambient, techno, and electronica. Jakob will present the performance Wahnsinn, Everyday Insanity, on Friday at 8 p.m. The show combines elements of interactive reading, performance, and concert. And all I have to say, wow, great people up here on the panel. And I will start with Sarah, because in her works, I think the connection between movement and sound is very obvious. And we had an email conversation beforehand for the preparation, and when I asked Sarah, what are your interests in or experiences with the resonance between body, material, and sound, you answered, that's the core of our research in this project. We also collaborated before in another project, Le Poids du Souffle, where we found the base of these interests. Now, dear Sarah, can you describe the projects, like both projects, and tell us about your research interests?
Hello. We are working, me and Chantal Boulian, on this project for 5 years now. And Chantal has very good skills in woodworking and designs. So we are interested in creating big instruments that we can play with our bodies. Some of them can only be played by the two of us, like you have to be two people to play the instruments. And since they are very big, and so we have to play them with our bodies. Sometimes it's the weight of the body that changes the tone of the note that we will be playing. And we do that, but we're not stuck into that. Like we give us some liberties in this work also, because it's art, and we like to do what we like to do. But it's and we like to also creating these instruments that can be uncreated. like undone during the performance. Like we do stuff with part of the stuff that we did, we undo it and we do another instruments with it, and then we do another instruments with it. So it's always like moving and changing between all the instruments. And it's very physical work, like we are tired after the show and we run and everything. And also the sound is moving too, because there is I don't know how to call it, specialization. Yeah, that's the word I was searching for. Thank you. Yeah, so.
Yeah, you already mentioned it. That's what, when I saw some videos beforehand, that's what I really, really, really like about the work, is that, like, as Paul also already told, that like in not just classical music, but as we know music before the digital age, like it's the finger you use for a string, or it's the fingers to press a key, so it's mostly just body parts involved, but like for your objects, it's the whole body. And what I really love, that it's sometimes even two bodies that are needed for, like, yeah, generating the sound.
Yeah, we are working with like aspect of like acoustic ways of making sound that already exist in other instruments, but we are making it bigger and changing them and trying to find some like weird ways of doing things that we think could sound great.
And now, as we talked about a lot about the objects, the instruments that are very, yeah, of course, they are like also the source and the base of your work, and they're very visible. Like, not a silly question, but why do you take the like detour via the objects?
To make sound. It's because that's what we like to do, and it's kind of our interest. And you have to have something to translate the movement into sound, like with instruments or with like numeric stuff and stuff like that. But we like to make this big structure and, like, I don't know, complicate our lives by transporting it in the plane and everything. And sometimes the things broke and we live with it, but I don't know. We like to complicate our life.
Yeah, that's funny, because you wrote me what was about the flight. What did you have to do for preparing your travels to come here?
Yeah, we redid most of our instruments so they can fit in normal suitcase. Like, I don't know, it's 28 inches. I don't know what's in centimeter, but...
Not one suitcase.
Six big suitcases, and we're like in the airport, like, why we do this? But and then we arrive, and I was so scared that one suitcase would not follow us, because this would have been our worst nightmare, because if one suitcase is missing, there is no show. We have to have every part for doing it entirely. But it was a big work to redo everything and do everything demountable, and so that it can work anyway. And we have we work with bellows that we is the word, like bellows that we make ourselves. And back at home we have one that's like this wide and this wide, like very big, that we step on it, but we bring a smaller one that's like this height and like this wide. But we changed some stuff, and we don't have our biggest instruments, but we mostly have everything.
I already saw it. It looks great. I already saw some of the instruments out of the suitcase, so you have to come. Yeah, and I wanted to say, so it's 2 suitcases per person, because I also want to introduce Guillaume Thibert, who is supporting you like with the light stuff, technical stuff in general.
Yeah, very useful.
Nice to have you here, all of you, the 3 of you. So up to here. Thanks for now, Sarah. I always want to say Sarah, but Sarah, for your precious insights. And now I would like to hand over to Sabina because, you make sound or sound generation also visible, but in a, I would say, very different way. And I want you to ask, why are you interested in the visualization of sound?
I think that it came naturally because I have something in my head that when I see something, I hear the sounds of what I am seeing, and also the other way around. When I listen to music or sounds, I have those shapes or things. I never tested for synesthesia or something like that, but it happens. I'm studying music since I'm 5 years old, so I've started reading scores. Then I have this connection between the visual part of the sound, and sometimes it's annoying because I can't help listening to music and all these transcriptions, visual transcriptions come to my head. But it's also beautiful when I can listen to a sound and represent that visually and vice versa. Yeah.
So you will show us later on what's going on in your head, in your brain, somehow?
Somehow, because my dream is to really translate what I have into visuals, and but what you will see is close. Yeah.
So I think so. It's also somehow natural that you called your inventions synesthetic devices. Could you tell us a bit about them?
Yeah, well, I create those visualizations of sound and music, and then people sometimes ask me to teach them how to do that in the software I do that, which is Jitter. And then I realized that it was probably easier just do the devices myself and then give them, because it takes a lot of time to learn how to program in Jitter, right? And people want to do those visualizations, so this is a solution for that. So if you want to create visualizations, and you put that in Ableton Live, and then magic, you have visualizations of your sounds.
And is there something that you want to tell the audience about your works and your approaches? Do you want to add something, like tell the audience something about your works, or like your approaches? How?
Yeah, well, probably let you know that in the performance I will do later, I will also use artificial intelligence engine, which is called Somax, and I do believe that artificial intelligence now is a reality, but I like to use this tool because it fosters my creativity. It's not something that will create music for me, but it will react to my thing. So all the sounds that you will listen to, samples of cellos, voices, like real instruments, come from this thing.
Thanks a lot. Now I come to the Zimt guys. First to Jakob. During my preparation, I came across the performance Take Off Sound with the dancer Tomoko Nakasato. Do you want to tell us something about this performance as it explores the creation of sound and movement?
Yeah, actually it began that Tomoko wrote us an email and was wondering about our system we developed with Maze tools, and we did some tests about connecting Kinect camera to our software, to the audio core, and then yeah, Stefan, who develops maze tools and will be also part of the performance as a Cheetah Dragon on Friday. He developed an interface to connect like 32 points of the body or maybe more, and use it as a to control musical and sound parameters. And the interesting thing was then that we had it and thought like, okay, it's great, it's cool, but we are no dancers and performers. We come more from this electronic music side, or maybe also rap. Yeah, and with Tomoko, it became a whole new level on interaction, because she comes more from contact and improvisation, and just started to play with the sound parameters and explore them while going through the room. And then she inspired us to these compositions, and so it was always an exchange and really long rehearsals, like rehearsal sessions, like over 4 or 5 hours, with some breaks, of course. But yeah, and yeah, then we did this performance here, and it was we showed it many times, but it was always kind of different, because there's a lot of free space to play with the compositions. So as we start to play the show, I leave the position of the composer. So she will be then just now I'm still the composer, but she's like doing the interpretation of the piece, and I can't do anything anymore, except maybe doing things on and off, or maybe when some feedback or something really going crazy or something is breaking. But actually, I just switch the scenes, and then I like I have to release it, and I'm always really curious about what's happened, what will happen next.
Yeah, that's also an aspect that came up to my mind when I read about your works and the work that Paul and Clara will show. Who is the author? Or like, I think it's a co-authorship, and I also really like this thought, and like you as a composer and programmer giving the material, and the mover, the dancer, has this material and can make something out of it, and find decisions or try things out. And also the point about improvisation, I want to ask later on Paul, because or is it okay if I
maybe
over
just
to Paul?
maybe I have a question, maybe also for later, like the point of documentation, the work and recording is like always really important when you work like this, so that you also can reflect the work afterwards. So we always try to record our rehearsals so we can watch them later and see what we did.
Now I wanted to ask Paul, what are your interests in the relation between movement and sound? And because you will premiere the piece with the dancer at Zimt, and I asked myself, what's her role and what's your role in it?
So first to the first question, what's my interest? I think one of my interests definitely is this bi-directionality of inspiration. And so I think this is really, if we talk about this topic of movement and sound, you can always view it from both angles or from many angles. But if you work together with dancers and the dancers are influencing, or also if you do yourself, if you work with some kind of gestural interface where the movement is producing sounds, then of course also the sounds are then influencing the movement again.
Yeah.
So this bidirectional input is super interesting for me, and there's a lot developing from that. And for sure, I think it's a co-authorship in these kinds of projects because you get inspired while rehearsing. I mean, there's different ways how to think of the role as a composer. Also nowadays, I think it's not always like that people are just writing things down in their studio and then somebody's interpreting it. We, as composers, work a lot with ensembles and try things out, also with instruments, and then get inspired by these sessions and so on. So it's in a lot of these cases, it's actually like this. In the end, I'm composing, she's dancing, but of course we develop the piece together. And yeah, I think this is fascinating for me. And what else? I think also, for me, what is like, maybe what I try to do in this piece also is to create an instrument and a composition. It's both, like what Jakob was also saying. They also build instruments. It's actually all of us build instruments in one way or another, like very different ones. So yeah, I would also say like maybe I build the instrument and Clara's the interpreter, and the composition is kind of like a co-production in the end. And yeah, because also it's also like choreography is composition then at that moment, you know. So, and maybe just one thing to add in, because this is maybe interesting also, because our works that we now present share a lot of similarities, because we both work with dancers and sensor input. One thing that for me was interesting also is to try to, in designing this instrument, to try to add some kind of physicality to the instrument. So it's kind of like I did this piece 2019 in San Diego in a very early stage. Or like I did another version of this piece, let's say, that used metal strings, and now I'm using lasers. So it's actually not a physical instrument, but it gives you kind of like a physical sensation in space, because you can change the depth of the lasers, you can interact with them, you can touch them. And that was for me also important in developing this work. That's not only dance in an empty room, but it's also like she's actually interacting with a physicality in the space.
Yeah, and what I'm also really interested in, because I assume that there are a lot of moments of improvisation in it, and yeah, what would you say, where are they to be found?
So I will say now everywhere, because we are really late with this production. No, so what we will show on Saturday is really an early stage. We started to develop this piece actually last week, and yeah, it's just crazy to run a festival and do a production at the same time. It's a big mistake. I don't recommend doing it. But so yeah, we just noticed how much, like for us, it's a lot of fun to develop this work, and we really already said like, okay, we want to work further on this, and we see this this presentation on Saturday really as a work in progress that we show.
Yeah.
And so actually there's a lot of improvisational parts. It's kind of like a structured improvisation. There are different scenes and there are different things that we agreed on and developments.
Like a framing or some
the framing
scores.
and developments in the parts, but then there's a lot of space that really also then depends on Clara, for example. Also, it's a interesting question in this bi-directional work, who gives the cues, and sometimes I give cues, sometimes she gives cues, and then it depends a lot about also the perception of time, because it's so different my perception of time watching from the outside is so
like
different.
inner and outer.
Yeah, from her performing, and sometimes I say, okay, you give the cue, and she tells me, yeah, okay, but you know, if I do this choreography now, can be that I completely lose track of time, and it might be that the cue is happening 10 minutes later than you expected. And I'm like, okay, then that's it.
Yeah, yeah, so, nice. Thanks, Paul. Thanks to all of you up here. I would say we got really, really precious and interesting insights in different approaches. And to sum this up very, very briefly, I would say we heard like about 3 ways to make sound and its generation visible, like very huge instruments by Sarah, audiovisual concerts, complex visuals by Sabina, and moving bodies in the works of Jakob and Paul. And yeah, now I would love to open up the panel and ask you, the audience, the listeners, the viewers, are there any questions? Are there any comments? Do you want to go deeper into something?
First, I have one comment that I wanted to just address. That for me, like I really, I mean, you said it before. This is what you're doing. It's also this building instrument, but it's like for me, it was so important when we thought about this topic to include your work into this, because we really wanted to show different ways, and you have a super analog way of producing the sound. Yeah. And it's such a physical way. And of course, you also add a lot of electronic layers, but this like analog physicality, it's just such a different approach.
And it's very, I think it's in the work, it's very visible, very traceable for the audience, how the sound is generated, where it comes from.
Yeah, and this is just maybe as a teaser for later. After the concert, we will open the exhibition, and there you will also see different approaches towards this. And for example, there also we have a kinetic object that is producing sound with organ pipes and water that is very physical and actually purely analog in the sound production. And then we have the complete opposite of a sensor-based input and so on. So that I think that's very the fascinating thing. And also then seeing Sabina's work, it's more translating these sonic inputs. And maybe that would be a question for me, like how is for you the bidirectionality? Is there some kind of, for you also, this plays a role?
Yeah, like how those visuals are reacting to sound. I am using something called sound descriptors. So when the music sounds, it is analyzed by some technology, and then how these measures of sounds can be translated into the visual world is what I am using. But in my work, I am also performing the visuals, and that happens also. Well, it's very intuitive because that it's improvisation as well. So I am actually. When I am controlling the visuals, I am doing that as it is a drum, for example, to control some parameters of the visuals. Because if I stop just in translating the sound domain into visuals, this is a transcoding, right? But then there's the work of mapping, and the mapping for me, it has a degree of creativity. It's not just transcoding, because then the artist will do these choices of how this parameter of sound will be represented how, right? And in my approach, I also try to make visible things that probably this algorithm of AI, right? It's like a mystery. So, but when I make visible some sounds that this thing is making, then now there is a kind of physicality of this entity. that is perceptible. And yeah, so it goes in both sides. So the sound that with those measures, they're being translated into visuals, but also as my own musicality that is being translated into the visuals, and also the visuals that are displayed. Sometimes it inspires me something to perform musically, right? So it's a feedback, and this is why I call, well, this is visual music for me. Is like it's all together. It's not just transcoding.
So I have a question. Like mapping is a good point, because it seems like kind of own, discipline in this field of bidirectional, because this mapping is so important. You can like in our way is like I can just move my hand like this and also turn the volume on and off, but I can also move my hand like this or walk from there to there to make the volume on and off. And so I was wondering also, like you do it, like with the physical room, because I mean we have also the range of the tracking, but I was wondering how are you limited in the room where you play, or
If I don't understand why.
like the size of the room.
Oh yes, we have to have a big room, but like we cannot do it. We could not do it on this little stage, but we will take like all this space like tomorrow. But the instruments have to move and to. I don't know. Actually, we're taking all this space around you, but you're not supposed to know. No, but we need space. We need space to just to unpack everything and to pack everything. We need space. It's just. But we love this. We love like the way we feel different with the sound when you can see it, when you can feel it, when you see another body interact with it, and it's just different, I think.
I think this mapping. I also wanted to add one thing to that, because as you said, it's an art discipline by itself, and it's a big part of a lot of works that deal with this connection between sound and movement, or sound and visuals, or whatever, two disciplines. And it's also, I think, so crucial to think about how direct is this mapping, and how, because there's kind of like a sweet spot. Yeah, if you have a mapping that is too obvious, then it gets boring really, really quickly. If a movement is doing like producing a certain sound and you just understand it super quickly. Also, I think we all maybe experience these kind of interactive installations that just get boring too quickly. At the same time, we might have experienced these interactive installations where you think, do they work or not? This is maybe an indicator, therefore, that the interaction is either really not working or it's too complex to understand, and then it's also not satisfying in the perception for the audience. So I think there's like a very a crucial sweet spot to find in between these two extremes, and mapping is really an art form. And I think in developing this piece also, for me, it's difficult to sometimes decide, okay, these things have to be obvious, that we know the system is working, we don't wonder all the time, or is the technique going well or not. But at the same time, also, it has to be complex enough to always surprise you. And then some movements also you are maybe reacting in another way, because there's actually some other more complicated process happening in the background. And I think that's important. And I think actually we can also even adapt this kind of mapping discussion to your works and your instruments, even though they're completely analog, because how you map the weight of your body, for example, to the pitch of the string. This is a very interesting mapping you will maybe experience tomorrow, because usually the pitch of a string is not mapped to the weight of a body, and that's also, I think, super nice.
Yeah.
Sorry,
just,
audience.
Just opens this dimension also to the social cultural aspect of all these works, because they're like really open to be explored by non-musicians, because the instruments are not like classical instruments, and the people don't expect to play an instrument, so they just don't know and just try and just lose the fear of seeing an instrument and thinking about doing something wrong or playing something wrong. And I really love this, and then I just checked during the last month, because I'm doing some demos and also showing them to kids, and that there's like the thing that you have, like the thing which are like maybe for experienced speakers or artists a bit boring, are a good entry for children, and then you can have this different dimensions. And yeah, but I also love the audiovisual approach, and for experimenting, and of course this physical, haptical.
Just it's we are playing with our instruments. Just we are like we are discovering them, because when you invent instruments, you have to learn how to play them. You have to explore what sounds they can make, like the dancers you work with. Like they have to, okay, when I do this, it does that, and then you have to compose with it and just not forget to play.
This could be lovely, like final words, but I still want to invite the audience to join, if you want, of course, just if you want. Is there anyone who wants to add something, or know more on certain aspects?
Any questions?
Yeah. No, you are so curious. You want to get it like on and have the concert of Sabina, or see the exhibition, or experience the DJ set by Ois. And so I say a very, very, very warm thank you to all of you up here, and all of you like here in the room, and I think, I don't know, worldwide perhaps, because it's also streamed, I heard. And let's spend this wonderful evening together and experience a lot more approaches, and move and listen and see, and of course also smell and taste. There is a bar. Enjoy on every level. Thanks a lot.